The messages were perfect. That's what haunts me most. They were so perfectly me that for 6 months I never suspected a thing. My boyfriend Ethan was my safe harbor. We'd been together for 2 years. He was steady, funny, and he knew my rhythms. He knew I was a freelance writer, and that sometimes, when a deadline hit, I'd disappear into my work cave for days. That's where the glitch began. Ethan started mentioning things. Tiny, bizarre details from conversations we supposedly had while I was deep into a project. "I love that you finally admitted you secretly listened to 90s boy band music," he'd say, kissing my forehead. I hated 90s boy band music. I was a punk rock girl. "Don't worry about the promotion," he'd text. "I know you were nervous about the presentation, but confidence is your superpower. You told me that yesterday." I hadn't had a presentation in 6 months, and that phrase, that was my best friend Maya's personal motto. I laughed it off. I chalked it up to stress or my own forgetfulness. "Babe, I must have been sleep texting," I'd joke, but the jokes felt hollow. The incidents piled up, a sudden intense interest in historical romance novels, which I definitely did not read, a bizarre reference to a childhood vacation spot I'd never been to, and a strange new nickname for him, Captain, that made my skin crawl. The weirdest part? Ethan was happier than ever. He kept telling me, "You've changed, Allie. You've opened up so much. You feel closer." And I did feel closer to him, strangely. Our real-life conversations were richer, driven by shared imaginary experiences I couldn't place. I told Maya everything. Maya was my soul sister, my confidant since high school drama class. She was the one person who knew the chaotic, unfiltered truth of my life. She knew my fears, my dreams, and every single dark corner of my past. She listened intently to the growing list of glitches, her eyes wide with sympathetic concern. "That's so creepy, Allie," she'd whisper. "Maybe he's losing it from stress?" Her calm assurance was the only thing keeping me sane. Then came the night I found the thread. Ethan was asleep next to me. His phone buzzed, illuminating the ceiling. It was a new text message. I usually respected his privacy, but the sheer volume of oddities had chipped away at my ethics. I gently picked up the phone. The message wasn't from a stranger. It was from a number labeled, "Work client, do not open." I hesitated. I reasoned, maybe it's about the house, maybe it's a surprise. The lie felt flimsy, but the curiosity was a desperate, burning fire. I opened the thread. It wasn't a client. It was a long, deep emotional conversation thread that spanned 6 months. And the person writing the messages was using my exact voice, my familiar jokes, my favorite emojis, my unspoken anxieties about my mother's illness, which I had only ever shared with one person, Maya. Then I saw the punchline, a message detailing a recent date they had shared. "I loved our picnic by the river today, Captain." It was exactly what I needed. I hadn't been on a picnic in 6 months. I was locked away writing. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I scrolled up, seeing the pet name Captain used hundreds of times. I saw the historical romance novel references. I saw the exact phrase, "Confidence is your superpower." Then I found the photo, a selfie. It wasn't me. It was a heavily filtered image of a beautiful woman, posing in my bathroom, wearing one of my favorite sweaters. The woman wasn't familiar, but the setting was unmistakable. The sweater was mine. I scrolled to the contact information. I copied the number. I put Ethan's phone down, my breath catching in my throat, and stumbled into the dark living room. My blood felt like ice water. I knew this wasn't random. This was calculated. This was a nightmare wearing my face. I pulled out my own phone and pasted the number into my contacts. I hit call. It rang once, twice. Then, across town, my best friend Maya's ringtone pierced the silence. Before we continue, we would like to thank all of you who support us by subscribing, liking, and sharing our content. The only appreciation we ask of you is that you subscribe, like, and share this video if you are not yet one of our subscribers. Thank you. Maya. It was Maya. I remember thinking, maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe she just picked up a wrong number. I clung to that flimsy hope like a drowning person clutching a piece of driftwood. But the driftwood was poisoned. The initial shock gave way to a cold, surgical clarity. I didn't scream. I didn't wake Ethan. I walked to the kitchen, made a cup of tea I never drank, and waited for the sun to rise. I needed to understand the mechanics of the betrayal. Maya was the fake identity. Maya was the one feeding Ethan the perfectly tailored version of me. The version that was less stressed, more open, and more interested in his hobbies. She had been catfishing my boyfriend for 6 months, but she was catfishing him as me. I realized why Ethan thought I had changed, why he felt closer. He wasn't connecting with me. He was connecting with an idealized, fictionalized version of me, crafted by my best friend using all my deepest secrets. The cruelty was meticulous. Maya knew my work schedule. She knew when I was inaccessible. She had slid into that gap, providing the effortless, low-maintenance partner Ethan craved when I couldn't be one. She had access to my private life, my anxieties, my hopes, all the ammunition she needed to perfectly imitate my essence. I looked at the facts. Maya had been secretly in love with Ethan since the day I introduced them, but she wasn't bold enough to pursue him directly, so she pursued him as the only person she could trust, me. When Ethan finally woke up, smiling and rested, he found me sitting at the kitchen table, 2 phones, mine and his, sitting between us like severed communication devices. I didn't lead with the accusation. I led with the truth. "Ethan," I said, my voice steady, "I know you think I listen to 90s boy band music, and I know you think I had a lovely picnic last week." His face went blank. He glanced at the phones, his sleepy smile dissolving into panic. "We need to talk about Captain," I finished, using the nickname I had seen in the texts. The confrontation that followed wasn't a shouting match. It was a devastating autopsy of a dead relationship. Ethan confessed everything. He admitted that the mysterious number was an identity Maya had created, a mutual friend who was keeping them company while I was busy. He admitted he knew he was wrong, but he justified it by saying the emotional connection was so good, so easy. He thought Maya was just a new, supportive friend who understood him. He insisted they never met in person. He swore the relationship was purely emotional, but the sheer volume and intimacy of the messages betrayed his words. He had emotionally cheated on me with the ghost of myself, and she was the one who had brought him the red heels as a gift, the heels I found by the door. I looked at him, not with anger but with profound disappointment. "You didn't cheat on me with a woman, Ethan. You cheated on me with a fantasy of me, a fantasy my best friend created using my life story." The core lesson hit me like a physical wave. I had been so desperate for friendship and connection that I had given Maya the keys to my entire vulnerability vault. I had given her the power to destroy me. I looked at Ethan, and then I looked at my phone, seeing the hundreds of hours I spent confiding in Maya. I realized my true betrayal wasn't from Ethan. It was from Maya. The immediate consequence was clean. I ended the relationship with Ethan. He was horrified, begging for forgiveness, but the trust was scorched earth. I couldn't forgive the deceit, the secrecy, or the way he had used my absence as an opportunity. The hardest part was confronting Maya. I arranged a coffee meeting, just like old times. She arrived, smiling brightly, wearing a new dress. She sat down, her hands folded neatly. "I'm so sorry about your split with Ethan," she chirped. "I'm here for you." I slid his phone, with the entire 6-month conversation thread open across the table. Maya didn't scream or cry. She went pale, her composure dissolving into a silent, defeated acknowledgement. "I love him, Allie. I always have. And you were just never around." Her words were a twisted excuse, a self-serving rationalization. I stood up. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "You didn't just break my trust, Maya. You used my soul as bait. You are not my friend." And I walked away. The fallout was messy. Friends took sides. Ethan tried to reconcile. Maya vanished into the digital ether, but I was finally free. The greatest strength I found was not in getting revenge, but in realizing the truth. Vulnerability is not a virtue for everyone. It is a privilege reserved only for those who have earned the title of vault person. I learned to be strategic with my life. I rebuilt my boundaries. I stopped being an open book for every passing stranger. I stopped letting others' opinions define my happiness. I realized that the real victory wasn't getting the right boyfriend. It was becoming the powerful, unshakable person I always should have been. Sometimes the hardest goodbyes are the ones we whisper to the person we used to be, the version who trusted too easily. I am still healing, but I am moving forward, and I will never again give anyone the keys to my story.